Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Sara Wiseman, and today we're working on our December 2024 channeled forecast. I do these once a month, and if you're finding me now on the Spiritual Psychic podcast on audio, that's at Mind Body Spirit FM or all the usual streaming services. If you're finding me on YouTube, I'm there too at Spiritual Psychic Podcast. Also on YouTube, it's just the visual goes along with it. Today we're going to talk about the December 2024 channeled forecast, and I want to give a little bit of information about my process so you'll know how it works. So normally I do the channeled forecasts, I don't know, 3 or 4 months in advance. And I've mentioned before, I like to do it this way as a little challenge for myself, because it's hard to know all the things that will be happening ahead of time at that level, especially as the world, changes so quickly. But I like to do that to see how the information will track when we get to that time frame. And so the December 2024 channel forecast I'm doing in mid-October. So we're before the election, the US election, and right now the flavor is super chaos, super chaotic, super challenging. It's just this real feeling of unease or dis-ease for much of the world. So I want to provide to you what I've received for this place that we're at. And one of the other things is that very soon, well, actually by the time this comes out, we will have just gone through Pluto in Aquarius, where, we've been having this back and forth of Pluto in Aquarius, and then it goes out for a bit back to Capricorn. But now, I think November 19th or 20th, which we just will have had, we have gone full on Pluto into Aquarius, where it's going to be the next 240 something years. So this is huge. This is as big as agricultural age changing to industrial age, changing to information age, changing to the subset of that, internet age. And now we're moving to something different. So when we talk about old structures letting go, we're talking about all those things that were built in those various time periods are no longer going to be what the focus is on. And especially if we look at like 240 plus years where we're going to be in this energy, Aquarian energy, I want you to just consider how many generations that is. That's either, if some parts of the world that's maybe 15 years old is a generation, other parts of the world 30. So it's a lot of generations. It's more generations than we can understand. Usually we can look back 1 or 2 generations, or we can look forward 1 or 2 generations maybe, and have this sense of our place in time. Some of the indigenous ideas about the 7 hoops or the 7 generations sort of express this idea, like you can go back to a certain level, you can go forward to a certain level. But this is more than that, right? This is a big stretch of time, especially at a time when things are already moving so quickly. So December 2024 channel forecast. The bigger idea, letting go of grasping. Collectively, you are learning to work together. Most of you have resisted the lesson that you do not need to get your own way. Your own way is not important or significant because the bigger aspect of what you are working on is that you are part of. You are not separate, so that whatever you want and strive for affects every other human, animal, plant, cell, molecule, particulate. You have been marching around with a sense of your own importance for many decades, yet this approach is no longer serving you. This aspect of your development has run its course. A person will be selfish until they mature out of being selfish. It is a process. A self-serving nature will continue until that person has experienced suffering at the deepest level. For some, suffering is loss. For some, it is trauma. For some, it is the deep grief and heartbreak that arrives and changes the person's entire perspective. Many of you have been through this or are going through it now. The universe does not punish. However, the universe will continue to send wake-up calls until the call is finally answered. In this world of continuous distraction, it has been hard to get your attention. So many things clamor for your attention, and it is hard for you to discern or decide what is important, what is real, and what is simply fluff disguised as importance. So much of what you strive for has absolutely no value to you, and yet you continue to grasp as if it matters. It is time for a deep look. If you feel you have experienced enough suffering and do not want to experience more, you may look at your response and notice that anything that reflects separation will be an incorrect response. Whatever you feel, right or wrong, or whenever you feel right or wrong, better or worse, all of this is separation. When you feel us against them, this is also separation. You will not choose oneness because it is a way to end suffering, although that is true. You will choose oneness eventually because it is the only answer that offers a true solution for the human experience. You will eventually, each of you in this lifetime or the next lifetimes, let go of grasping, of judging, of fear, and of anger. There is a need to look with tenderness at those around you, even and especially those you do not like. For some, this will be on the large scale, letting go of hatred and rage against groups of people who do not agree with you. For others, this will be on the smaller scale, letting go of hate and rage against those you know best. The family, the partner, the friend, the neighbor, the colleague, letting go of separation in the personal. It is very hard work, this letting go of grasping. You will not be successful right away. You will look around as you practice letting go of attachment to how things should be and instead witness what is. And you will be angered and discouraged because it may feel like you are the only one, the only human on this planet who is doing this work. It is not so. A great many of you are doing this work. Many of you are opening into oneness at an accelerated pace. And even though it is hard work, you are making progress. As one solves the riddle, as one enters the cone, K-O-A-N, not cone, of oneness, another sees what is happening and follows the light. So many of you are removing the armor of separation and beginning to see your experience in a new way. This is reality. This is what is happening. The gears are shifting. Change is here. It has been here for many years now, and you are finally realizing it is not going away. There is no battle of dark and light. There is no clarion call. There is only the shedding of ignorance, which is the belief in separation. There is only this shedding and the waking up to the reality of collective soul, which is oneness. Again, we say awakening is not raising vibration. Awakening is not love and light. Awakening is being with what is, exactly as it is, and knowing everything as one. The collective soul is recognizing itself. This is what is happening now. There is no going back. It is impossible to go backwards. Let go of the old ways and old thoughts and old beliefs, and be with what you see in front of you. Every moment brings more change. There is no stopping your evolution. There is no stopping your opening to oneness. Now, this is pretty heavy, and it's actually fairly complex in terms of metaphysical or spiritual understanding. First of all, this idea that there is no battle of dark and light, there is no clarion call, there is only the shedding of ignorance, which is the belief in separation. And that's very different from how we've been being taught, in the last, decades, since maybe, roughly the 70s. So we've been taught if we just raise our vibration, if we think positively, if we have high vibration practices, if we eliminate the toxicity of negativity from our lives, everything will be fine. And then maybe a little bit later on, we were taught, like with The Secret or Law of Attraction, we were taught we can just ask for what we want and the universe will provide it. And the problem with that is, all these requests going up to the universe, and this idea that our requests have to coordinate with everyone else's requests as per the universe's cosmic knowing of what the collective is really wanting and desiring, and this idea that we are the universe. So law of attraction is somewhat of a bust, because this idea that we can just ask for what we want, it's really kind of separation, isn't it? I'll just ask for what I want. If you don't know how to do the trick, you're out of luck. So we can't just raise our vibration and then that's going to work. We can't just focus on love and light. We can't just use law of attraction or The Secret. I'll just get what I want. Because those are all ways of separating. If we only want love and light, well, what about, darkness and hate? It's a pretty big part of the world too. We're just going into a polarity. If we only want what we want, what about all the things we don't want? Those exist also. Those are part of a human experience too. So this idea of opening into this place where you really come to the understanding that there is not separation. And I loved how a lot of you, so people tend to be divided into two camps. On one camp, people have really gotten to this place of no separation on the bigger global scale. They're really in this place of peace or benevolence or neutrality or witnessing on the bigger global scale. They're not divided in polarity in those areas. Then there's this other group that tends to be have a really dealt well with their personal, the micro, the personal life. They do really, really well with their relationships with others, but then they struggle with polarity on the bigger scale. So at some point, probably everyone here listening, including me, is struggling with some aspect. Either we're okay on the big scale, we've come to peace with that, or we're okay on the small scale, we've come to peace with our smaller relationships or our personal life. But we're asking to be fully in. We're asking to be fully in with this idea of no separation, so that we're not just together with what we think we want. We're not just together with love and light. We're not just together with higher vibration. We allow all of it, and we accept and are witness to and are part of and embrace and know all of it. I used to have this phrase a long time ago in some other channeling. It was like the good, the bad, the all of it. And this is building on that. We can't go forward trying to grasp. We have to let go of what's grasping. We can't go forward just trying to grasp the love and light, because that's a false view. That's leaving out quite a bit of the equation. We have to look at the whole picture and work with what is and accept what is and join forces with that, so that truly this idea of collective soul learning to work together. And man, it is hard, because it's so hard to come across another ideology or another person, and you're just like miles apart. And how do you work with this? And this is this idea, collectively you are learning to work together. So we have to let go of grasping that we wish it were different, and kind of look at what is. And this is almost the first time in many hundreds of years where we are going to be allowing ourselves to not believe all the fantasy or not believe all the projection. I don't know what the fantasies in the agricultural age were, but that was a time when it was very, church based. And so like, if you just believe in God the way we tell you, everything will be great. But you got to go to church, and we won't let you all read because then you know too much, and also don't do any channeling or don't do any spiritual work yourself, because we really want it in a contained unit. And then as we went on to industrial age, the fantasy or the belief was like, if you just become successful, if you just lift yourself out of material poverty or illness, you're going to be just so happy. And to a large extent, life is a lot better than it used to be. But this idea that striving for material things or success, it was just a fixing on this grasped idea. Just go after the carrot. And then as we got into, I'm going to put them together, information or internet age, now it's like, oh, if you can just be this superstar, everything will be awesome. And we see over and over that's not the case. Sometimes people who have the most exposure to other souls in the collective by way of internet or media, it's really hard for them to get a clear picture of who they are, really. They're so busy making this projection or making this fantasy for others. So now this idea of letting go of grasping to the projection, it'll just be good if, and collectively we are learning to work together. And this is the piece where Pluto and Aquarius comes in, because Aquarius is all about the sign of brother and sisterhood. It's all about the sign of humanity. It's all about, the water bearer serving community. So it's this new focus on community, and it's not just the communities you like, it's the community of everybody, all inclusive, all welcomed, learning from each other. And the last thing I want to just say is, so this line, you have been marching around with a sense of your own importance for many decades, yet this approach is no longer serving you. This aspect of your development has run its course. And that's where we are now. We are entering a new stage of development as collective soul. As in this case, we're focused on our human understanding because we are humans. But this collective development, this evolution, and this big marker of Pluto and Aquarius for the next 240 something years is kind of a big step ahead. I'm Sara Wiseman. You can find me at sarawiseman.com. If you want to sign up to get these reports, like if you want the text version, depending on where you're looking at, you can go to my website, sarawiseman.com, and it's there under blogs. And you can also subscribe there to get that delivered as the text version outside of the transcript. And you can also subscribe on YouTube, and then you'll get the YouTube version as it comes in every month and sometimes more frequently. Everybody, thank you so much for listening, and I will be with you next time. Thank you.